Tally ho my fellow insomniacs, and welcome to a special little video. Today we're talking about Yandere Simulator, specifically its developer, the self-titled YandereDev. He doesn't deserve that moniker. I'd barely call him a developer. So, what I did was, after watching a few videos on the little shit, I emailed him with some questions. I'll be showing that somewhere on the screen, the screenshot of the email. And I'm going to go through the questions one by one and go through his answers and pick them to pieces. So let's try and find them first. I'll just got my tablet with me. I don't know how much you can see. Oh, great. It's being a bit slow because I don't know. So let's just look for Mr. Alex's email, shall we? Where are you now? I'll have it on my recent somewhere. I'll just search up Yandere, you know, that's probably the best bet. Yandere. Come on. Also, got a lapel microphone. I emailed him asking for an interview. And he said, hi, thanks for offering. I wish I could say yes, but I've learned that interviews take too much of my time away from development. I'd argue not as much time as 3 hours a day of streaming does, my friend. I mean, I develop myself, and I'm learning a new language right now, and I haven't had time to make videos because of it. I've been making sacrifices, something you might learn, something you might want to learn how to do if you wish to actually make a successful game, Alex. Anyway, let's actually read my initial email. Hello YandereDev, I am Koto from the channel Koto and Spacey. Yes, I am Koto from the channel Koto and Spacey. And although I know my channel is quite small, I was wondering if you have time to spare for a small interview talking about future updates and how you feel the game is coming along. Okay, so I was hoping for a voice interview where I could grill him and give him no chance to not reply and run away, even though he'd probably try that anyway. Because he's Alex. But, you know, oh well. But he did say thanks for offering, you know, it would take too much time away from development, which, I don't know, bug fixing your demo is a bad look. I'd recommend actually developing a competent game. Well, making a competent demo before you release it in order to launch a Kickstarter, but, oh well. In fact, in the corner of the screen, one of the corners of the screen, I'm actually going to put a little figure showing at the time of editing how much he's got on Patreon, how much money he has on Patreon a month. And afterwards I'll list a few things I could do with that amount. In fact, I won't check it, but I could, and I could tell you. But I'm willing to bet I could pay at least one employee and still live fairly comfortably. Although I am in the UK, so things are a bit nicer over here. So I can answer a few questions through email, which is what I was hoping he wouldn't do, because that gives him a chance to just not reply and pretend he never saw it. Luckily, I'm making this video a month after I got the questions, but we know that he did reply because of this. And if that would make boring content, I understand. I think he was hoping I'd say, yeah, it would, so can we not? But fuck you. This is the closest I've seen. Like, I haven't seen anyone get this, so I'm taking full advantage. So here are my questions. We're going to go through them one by one and his answers one by one. 1. Roughly how many of the in-game assets are placeholders for future custom models? To which he answers, I don't know whether or not the current assets will be final or will be replaced. Well, Alex, half of them were bought from the Unity store, or just taken without proper, you know, credit from the Unity store. And yet, all that time when fans did make custom models for you and you turn them away, and yeah, we're not gonna go into that. Okay, I'd like to replace many of them. I bet you would, because you wouldn't want any ties to the fucking Unity store. But that would require money, and we haven't done the crowdfunding campaign yet. I won't know the answer until I learn how much of a budget the final game is going to have. You earn over $2,000 a month, as far as I know. At the time of recording, you earn over $2,000 a month on Patreon, YandereDev. I could pay people to help me with that. I could pay a 3D modeler, even if it's just on a commission-by-commission basis. Even if it takes months and months and months to pay for all the models, I could do that quite readily with the amount that you're making. In fact, if I made that much, I would. That's exactly what I'd do. You know, there's fucking freelancers everywhere. You just have to credit the one that you go with, and you just have to be like, yeah, so that's your rate? Cool. I'll pay you for this many models this month, this many models next month, and still leave yourself enough of a budget. But given that you brought 2 sex dolls and 2 Nintendo Switches, you regularly impulse buy games, I doubt you actually have the budgeting skills to do that, and I would not trust you with a Kickstarter budget. But fuck it. The second question is a bit different. The second question's a nice one. I've never seen a roadmap for Yandere Simulator, and now I have. It's so fucking strange. I'm going to go through the roadmap step by step, but I did just say, do you have a roadmap for the game? Will you make it public at any point, or do you just have a rough idea and you do things as they come up? And that's a perfectly acceptable way to make a game if you're not asking for a monthly donation on a Kickstarter. I mean, if it's just a project for yourself, that's perfectly acceptable, YandereDev. That would be fine. But you're fucking stupid. Anyway, turns out the roadmap's already public. Didn't know. I didn't actually fucking know. I didn't know the roadmap was public. I didn't do any research before I emailed him because he doesn't deserve that much of my energy. So I have the roadmap. Once it loads, I'll have the roadmap right here. Yeah. Wow, that's loading mighty slowly. We're going to go through it bit by bit. Now, I'd like to point out something about the roadmap that you'll be seeing. Again, you'll be seeing it on the screen. The colours don't fucking flow. Like, at all. They go light, dark, light. And it just comes off really horrible. But then at stage 7 to 8, there's just this really, really horrible... Oh yeah, stage 6 is a darker pink, and then stage 7... You'll see it. And it looks terrible. It looks absolutely horrible. I hate it. I hate all of it. It's all disgusting. It doesn't flow. It's a road. It's not that hard, YandereDev. It's not hard, my friend. Well, we'll go from stage 1 onwards anyway. Pre-Osana checklist. We can assume he's done this. I don't know when the roadmap was last updated. But it's complete as far as he's concerned. So he's got the basic mechanics in, apparently. 16 different methods for eliminating rivals, both lethal and non-lethal. As far as I know, actually, that's not actually complete. They're not all fully implemented, as far as I know. But hey-ho. The school apparently is complete. Mimic the design of real-life Japanese high schools, but you couldn't mimic the uniform because they're wearing middle school uniform, Alex. Anyway. 80 plus students with a wide variety of different personalities that dictate their responses to the player's behavior. That is not in. There is the most basic of variance in the students right now from what I've played and what I've seen. The most basic of variance between each student. They are all carbon copies of each other that share the same 17,000 line script that they don't even use via inheritance, but we're not getting into that because Jesus Christ, it makes me so angry. I use inheritance, and I'm using Game Maker for my current project. Let's move on. Stage 2. First rival. Osana. Fucking stupid ass name. Plus, he had a rival. He had Ribaru. Ribaru was... Not Ribaru. No. That's Osana's bodyguard, right? I don't know anything about the... I don't remember a lot about the game, but he had a rival, I swear he did. I can't remember her name, but she was there for the... Was it the Expulsion one? Yeah, I think it might have been for the Expulsion. It was a test rival, but she was, like, fully implemented. And why not have just used her as the first rival and made Osana the second rival? Also, Ribaru's a fucking different beast. Oh, Jesus, she breaks the game. Not because of like, oh, she's badly implemented. She's perfectly implemented as far as Alex wants her to be. Like, as Osana's bodyguard. I hope I'm using the right character here. But the problem comes in when there shouldn't be a character that negates the gameplay loop that other players may want to get into in any way. If I want to go up and stab Osana in the neck, like when she's alone, and then kill Raibaru because Raibaru's always fucking with her, that shouldn't, or distract Raibaru even though Raibaru is currently immune from distractions. If I want to do that, that should be a perfectly viable way to eliminate the easiest rival. That should be perfectly, why wouldn't the easiest rival be easy to kill? But anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Or already had a rival that was implemented and was pretty easy to kill and shit. You could have just used her as the first rival, used Osana as the second. It would have been fine. People wouldn't have cared. It would have worked. The game wouldn't look like it's still pre-alpha as far as development goes. Because as far as I can tell, he's doing stage 2 to stage 6. Well, stage 5 and a little bit all at the same time. Which is not how a roadmap works. A roadmap is one, then the next, and the next, and the next, and the next. Not, that, what you're thinking of is a pie chart. Anyway, I don't have a drink, but I'm really thirsty. But I'm not going to go get one, because I'm a fucking rebel. So, things that remain to be done. There are some features that will set Osana apart from other students and make it fun to eliminate a rival. You already had one implemented. People found it fun. I remember this. Scripted events. Interactions with Senpai that the player can sabotage in order to ruin Senpai's opinion of Osana. That's not in the game yet. A character who exists to facilitate the matchmaking elimination method for Osana. I don't know if that's in the game yet. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say no, because we haven't got the 80+ students either. Raibaru. Yes, I was thinking about the bodyguard. Raibaru is in the game, but he straight up says here that she's to stop the first rival being eliminated too easily. She's the easiest. I'm slightly worried that the second, third, and all that, like the other 9 rivals, if I try and kill them, might just blow up my fucking PC. Not that the game has any trouble trying to do that anyway. I'd like to point out I run a Ryzen 2700X with 16GB of RAM and a 3070, and I barely get 60. If I turn on shadows, that goes down to 45. How? Unity has an inbuilt shadow. Fuck it, we'll get to that at question 3. Because it was a joke question, but it's fine. So, stage 2 still isn't done. Preparing Osana for the world. You've already released Osana in the demo, so it seems like you're doing stages 2, 3, and 4 all at the same time. Developer test. You'll test every feature in the game. Yeah, of course you will. Yeah, test every elimination mechanic once I feel confident that she's as bug-free as possible. As Kapakaiju said it, actually. There is a, like... If this is what, if Osana in the game right now is what a bug-tested and polished Osana looked like, then the original must have essentially been fucking malware. Like, seriously. There has been no bug testing on the current Osana, but fuck it. The first build that contains Osana will most likely still have some bugs. It wouldn't have massive ones like it currently does if it wasn't for you being an idiot, and if you'd actually, instead of streaming 3 hours a day, put some work in, Alex. Graduating from debug to demo, yeah, we know this one. The formal industry for a vertical slice, yep. Playable demo, yep, we know that. This is a roadmap. You don't need to define what these terms mean. People who are looking at a roadmap already fucking know. Further tweaks. After reaching this point, we'll have to... So you've released the demo, but it's essentially still the same as the debug builds, just with an orange-haired character who wants to fuck your crush. So, finally raising an actual budget. You get over $2,000 a month, Alex. You have a budget. Your budget is $2,000 a month. I could make a game on $2,000 a month, but what he doesn't tell his patrons even very clearly is that only funds raised over 3.5k go to the game's development. I'd say anything over 1k, or whatever his cost of living is if he's living on the bare necessities with a few luxuries here and there, should go directly to the game development, not 3.5k. I would not demand 3.5k a month as an indie startup. That's for personal use, I mean. That's fucking stupid. That's really stupid. What the shit? Also, I know, I'm wearing a dressing gown. Don't question it. So this is like him basically going, oh yeah, we're gonna put a Kickstarter up, and a female, such as a prequel story mode. Sorry, let's start with that. Why? The game isn't anywhere near done. Don't even think about that. What is wrong with you, dude? What the fuck? What the fuck, Alex? There's also like the female senpai. That's not hard to do. Just go and buy another Unity asset for a female senpai and put her in the game. That's what you did with the rest of the characters, isn't it? Backer rewards, so shipping cost and difficult deadlines. Bullshit. Basically what he's saying is the most difficult thing would be shipping costs and shit. It wouldn't. Because you just put that into the cost of the backer tier. You dick. Yandere simulators backer rewards will be primarily digital. I can kind of respect that, as much as that sickens me to say that I can respect anything that Alex is doing. But I can respect that, I guess. I mean, you want to keep it simple and keep it digital, you keep it Constructing the actual game, once it has a real budget, we're on stage 6 right now, sorry. Until now, Yandere Simulator has only had one full-time programmer, me. I wouldn't call you full-time, Alex. I really fucking wouldn't. You stream 3 hours a day, my friend. I don't even do that. And I'm making a 2D game in fucking Game Maker. And I'm waiting on fucking sprites and shit to be done, because I have someone who's helping me out. I have an artist who's just as passionate about the project as me. And, you know, I don't even do that. I could. I have a channel. Well, obviously I do. I'm uploading this to the channel. I could very easily still be making the 5 videos a fucking week. But I'm not, because I actually made sacrifices in order to make this project. Anyway, I will use some of the money raised by the crowdfunding to hire multiple professional software engineers and replace me as the game's programmer. That was given to you on a silver fucking platter by fucking TinyBuild. And you fucked it. So I don't know how. I haven't done enough research into that situation to know how, because I didn't want to be sad. But you fucked it, Alex. It was given to you. Literally given to you. They were like, yeah, we'll fund it, we'll give you a programmer, and you just went, you were too much of a control freak. I don't see that working out. You'd become the game's director instead. I wouldn't trust you to direct me microwaving a fucking instant ready meal shitting thing from fucking nondescript supermarket. Alright? Let alone a fucking game. Look at how great you've been doing with the game so far. It's been over 6 years, roughly. And it's still a pre-alpha, as much as you want to call it a fucking demo. Many of the systems I create for Yandere Simulator will be rewritten from scratch, if it would facilitate development. It already would, and you're not doing it. You get so much feedback, but you just ignore it and delete the posts and scream hater. All rivals after Osana would take less time to implement than Osana did. You don't use inheritance. I find that fucking hard to believe. You would already have all the systems required in order to implement a rival quickly. You already did when you implemented the one that was before Osana, the test one, and it still took you years to implement Osana, didn't it? So, no, you don't use inheritance at all. You don't even use fucking switch statements. You just use if-else statements in your code. I mean, you're gonna be an old man before you finish this game, Alex, and you're already a bit boomer. Ideally, one of the software engineers would create tools that allow for even faster implementation of rivals. unscripted events between the rivals and Senpai, you could do that yourself. You could easily do that yourself right fucking now, but you're too busy fucking your fucking sex doll and fucking playing your Switches and impulse buying and playing games and fucking streaming. So many indie games have been made by one-person teams or small teams with much larger goals and have taken less time than Yandere Simulator. Explain that, you dick. In fact, you try to later on and it doesn't quite make fucking sense. Charging money for the game. Stage 7. Fucking hell, will this tablet just behave? For the past 5 years, Yandere Simulator has been more of a debug sandbox. Yep, without yep. It would not be fair to charge money for the game. You're damn fucking right it wouldn't, but honestly, I don't think it's fair to charge money for the game at all, even when it is completed, because you've kept people waiting for 7 fucking years, you dick. Ideally, the game will be made available through early access on Steam. You'll pay $5 in order to have access to the game. For backers, anyone who contributed at least $20 to the Patreon or to the game's crowdfunding will be provided with a Steam key at the same time as people who can buy it for $5. That makes me so angry. That doesn't make sense, Alex. It should be, if it's $5 for one person, it should be $5 for everyone. If I pay $5 towards your backing costs or towards your Patreon, I should be able to get the Steam code for the game while it's in early access. Right? £15, £3 when it comes to the $5. I should be able to pay £3 to your backing costs and get the game. If you're going to make it £3 for people who buy it through Steam, make it £3 for the people who buy it, who back it on Kickstarter or Patreon. Also, you don't need a Kickstarter. You already get a lot of fucking money, you fuckwit. Anyway, Alex! That doesn't make sense. And I actually know why it's £20, because me and Spacey, we spoke about this. It's £20. $20 even. £15. It's £15. Because he plans on the final price being £15. So he wants the backers to pay full price for an early access product that the early access players, or the people who only know about it through early access, are paying £3 for. Factorio is £15 on Steam, I think. £15 to £20. About the same price as YandereDev wants. Kingdom Come Deliverance is about £30. It's a lot more expensive, but it was also made by a small team and is much bigger of a game. The Binding of Isaac is £15. FTL is about £10. Into the Breach is about £10. That's all I have to say. They are also indie games made by small teams, and they're less. They were completed quicker, and they're much better. The Outer Wilds even, Jesus Christ. The Outer Wilds is also about £15, right? Roughly? Yeah. Cuphead, £15. Hades, £15. 18, kinda. Depends on which one. If you get it off Epic, it's like $15.94 or something like that. I don't know. Hades, yeah, especially Hades. Bastion is an oldie but goldie. But, like, it's also like £10. Transistor, £10. Pyre, £10. They're all cheaper. And they're all fucking better. And then we got the finish line. Once the Yandere Simulator contains all 10 rivals, various variations to the ending cutscene, and fulfills every promise that I've made throughout development, that's never gonna happen. It will be finally complete. The game will be $20. This number might change in the future if it would be necessary in order to recuperate development costs. You get $2,000 a month. Also, you're damn right it might change later. If the change is it going down. Again, Hades, £15. If the game is financially and critically successful, critics will tear it apart, and I'll be one of them. The minute it's out, I'll be one of them, tearing it apart. Everyone's gonna tear it to shreds, because it's fucked. You fucked it. There was no place for the game when it was first announced, and there's no place now. You fucked it. It's been too long. You're literally in development hell because of yourself. You can't even blame it on a publisher. It's all because of you. I may begin DLC for the game in the form of additional rivals and more gameplay modes. Somebody kill me. This guy's stupid. Let's go back to the email. It's the only way I'm going to escape this with my fucking sanity. If the email's closed, I'm going to be so mad. Nope. Fuck. Okay, so we're now on to my third question. Will the game at any point feature ray tracing for 30 series NVIDIA GPUs? This one, mercifully, fucking mercifully, was short, sweet, and succinct. The 3 S's. No. Just no. The point of that question was because Alex can't even get the basic shadows that come with Unity to fucking work. If there was any more than one light source in the game creating shadows, the game would fucking crash, let alone the little thing where shadows intersect and they go from soft to hard shadows. The game just would die because it's so badly optimized and so badly made. Like, what the fuck? But I can imagine that if you just plugged that into a real-time ray tracing thing, like, even if it was just completely pre-made and he plugged it in, anyone who ran that would instantly have a PC that turns into a nuclear fucking explosion. Like, that's just gonna happen. It's gonna break any PC it comes into contact with, and it's gonna make me even more dead inside than I already am. And I play Cyberpunk 2077 for fun, so you know, I'm already pretty fucking dead inside. Will there be any sort of LGBT representation in future versions of the game? This is important to me. I'm trans, and I'm pretty fucking queer. If I have enough of a budget, $2,000 a month, over $2,000 a month. The game can have a player's male option. That's not hard to implement. Or make senpai female option. That's not hard to implement. Neither of those are expensive or difficult to implement. You're trying to squeeze money out of the LGBT community, you fucking cunt. This means you can play as a male yandere. Yep, I know what that fucking means. I'm not fucking stupid. It all depends on budget. 2,000. Over 2,000. That's all I'm gonna say. Over 2,000. Yeah. I could implement that with that. How far are you planning to go with the characterization of the students? Are you planning to make them all semi-deep, or will you have a few deeper storylines with the rest being very shallow? Now, this is because he said he envisioned the game as a mix between Hitman and Persona pretty much completely relies on incredibly deep storylines for all its characters. And he went, I'm just an indie dev with no budget. 2,000 a month. Making his first game, and I'm already struggling a lot. Then you should have chose a simpler project to have as your first game, like I have. I have 1,000,001 advanced projects that I want to do, but I know that in order to even slightly make them as good as I want them to be, I need to do smaller projects first to learn the basics and the fundamentals of game design, even though I did go to college for 2 years to study that. I know that I need practice, otherwise I will struggle, and I need the backing of a team and a portfolio to prove to a publisher to give me funding for that team. You should have done the same. I can't make any big promises like making every student deep. It's likely there will just be a few very deep ones, although what he's actually said there is, it's likely there will be a very deep ones, which... I don't fucking know. But I'm assuming that is what he meant, is there'll be very few deep ones. Which, fine, if you just want to make the 10 rivals deep, that's fine. But then you can't boast 80 plus characters, because they're not characters, they're fucking set dressing. They are. The students are set. If they're not characterized, they're set dressing, Alex. And that's fine. That's not a strike against you. That's okay. It's okay. Strip the game back, it's fine. Fucking hell. The game's a fucking mess. And here's my final question. Are you happy with where the game is at in its development, or would you rather it be further along, whether that be anyone's fault or not? Thank you for taking time to answer these questions, Kota. And he has replied, I'm not happy about it. The game would be much farther along in development if it wasn't for, and this is a hyperlink here, numerous obstacles that have been slowing me down. Way to shift the blame. We're going to go into this, because it's fucking... I'm not going to read the entire thing. Because fucking hell. Yeah, fuck it. We're reading the entire fucking thing. I'm going to put it up and so you can see. Yandere Simulator has been in development for over 6 years. That's unusual. What's the holdup? In this blog post, I'll attempt to explain the problem. Don't treat me like I'm stupid. Just explain the fucking problem. 43 seconds into this video from January the 16th, 2017, I'm not going to fucking watch that. I made a vague comment about how a lot of stuff going on in my personal life took up a lot of my time and took a lot of my attention away from the game. I never divulged the details, but now the situation has intensified, it is necessary to talk about it. Any situation is your fault right now. Starting around January 2017, you gained massive amounts of harassment. The people started to prank call your phone, send weird things to your house, post your personal information online, make attempts to hack into your accounts, send you lengthy essays telling you why you should kill yourself, flag all of your social media, convince team members to stop contributing. To be fair, they were working for free and you have consistently thrown them under the fucking bus. Submit false reports to the police to get SWAT to show up. That's shitty as fuck. I can't defend that. I also can't defend the weird things to your house or the personal info or doxing or I can't defend any of it apart from like the team members one. Spam you with gifs of people being killed, mutilated genitals, gore, scat porn, BCLT, animal abuse, gifs of animals being killed. That's also pretty fucking disgusting. I won't defend that. It's shitty. Don't do that. He's a prick, but don't do that. That's horrible. Many content creators receive harassment, but what people have been doing to me has gone far above and beyond what a content creator usually experiences on the internet. Not fucking really, Alex, but okay. Listen, it's terrible. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. Seriously, it's bad luck. You're a public figure. People will criticize you. Harassing you, bit far. But genuine criticism that has actively been constructive and happened and people just commenting on what you're doing, that's fucking fine. Anyway, if I had to explain it with a graph, it would look like this. I'll put the graph up, but it's honestly just fucking bullshit. Actually, an interesting thing is the fact that, he tries, like, in this, progress goes down before abuse goes up. I wonder if there's some sort of, I don't know, fucking correlation there. Maybe people are getting a tad bit impatient. In 2016, my productivity was great, kicking ass, working fast, skating fast, eating ass. In 2017, my productivity fell like a rock. Yep. 2020, a new wave of harassment began. This line kills me. Osana would have released years ago, and the game might be finished by now. If you focused on development instead of having stupid fucking Easter eggs and unnecessary detail and fucking your sex doll and playing games. Maybe, but the harassment has nothing to do with it. I can still work with a shit ton of harassment. I did it all the way through high school. I got rocks thrown at me and shit. I got horrible shit happened to me in high school and I still worked at the same pace as my peers, sometimes faster. So don't bullshit yourself, Alex. No. You dick. Sorry, I have to insult you at least once. Don't worry. Nothing personal. Purely professional and personal. What caused the harassment to begin in the first place? What caused it to multiply and continue? And what caused it to become so widespread? To answer all three questions, there's the same thing. Misinformation. People are constantly saying things that aren't true. Things that cause them to feel justified in treating me like garbage. Yandere Simulator is made entirely out of stolen assets. No, but it does have high links to the asset store, the Unity asset store, which isn't a bad thing. You can do that, even if it's just as placeholders, that's fine. But there were stolen assets because creators of those assets told you to take them down. Especially when you used assets that were free to use, but you didn't credit the creators. So, you know, also you said that even if people who had volunteered to create assets for you asked those assets no longer be used, that you'd still keep them in the game and remove their credit. That's shitty. You deserved it. YandereDev streams video games all day long instead of working. Nope, 3 hours a day, but it does take away from precious time. YandereDev fired a tiny build programmer. You did? Well, you didn't fire him, he was taken away from you because you weren't utilizing him properly, or her properly, sorry. Because you're stupid, and even though it was handed to you on a fucking silver platter, you're a control freak. YandereDev doesn't credit volunteers. I've already gone over that. YandereDev kills Midori because he hates his fans. I don't know what that means. YandereDev spends all day reading emails. You do spend a lot of your time reading emails because I literally got a reply from you in about 6 hours. That's, like, fine. If you wanna wait, like, what I do, before I start coding and shit, I wake up and I make myself a coffee and some breakfast, and I'll sit at my desk, eat my breakfast and drink my coffee before I start my day of work, and read my emails to start my day, like, before I start my day, and then the minute my day is started, I stop reading the fucking emails, I carry on working, and then once I'm on my lunch break, while I'm eating, I'll read some more emails. And I'll occasionally just read emails on the weekend, because I got nothing better to do. YandereDev is prolonging the game's development to milk his Patreon. Fuck that. YandereDev defends pedophiles. Sex license. YandereDev wants to abolish the age of consent. Sex license. I'm not advocating that. It's a thing he said. Kappa Kaiju talked about it. I'll link the video. None of these statements are true. Each one of them is false. They were all debunked years ago. That's a hyperlink to his debunk page, or should I say his debunk novella. I'm not going to click on it because it's mostly bullshit. However, people keep spreading misinformation. When people saw negative messages disappearing, they assumed I was censoring criticism, which led to the narrative of YandereDev deletes comments because he can't take criticism. You portrayed YouTubers criticizing you as fucking demons and goblins. Don't even. Stop it. Please stop it. Please stop it. You know what? All that's the reason for the game's development speed. You treat someone like garbage, they work slower. If you want someone to work fast, you have to stop treating them like garbage. Then he just moves on to debugging. Well, that was fucking depressing, wasn't it, folks? And it was also a lot of bullshit. But he doesn't even sign off his email. The email just stops. The email just stopped. Didn't even say hello. Didn't say goodbye. So all in all, YandereDev's a piece of shit. Well, he's not. Well, he kinda sex license. He basically said that you should take instead of the age of consent, you should take a test that determines sexual maturity, and if you pass the test, you can have sex. Which is, from my experience, something a pedophile would say. You fucking nonce. But also, you can cheat on a test, Alex. My friend cheated on their GCSE. You can cheat on a test. And also, knowing what you're doing and, like, knowing things isn't the same as being ready. Like, a test can't determine that. Only trial and error can determine that, which is why we have the age of consent, so that kids don't end up fucking scarred and traumatized because they did something too early that they definitely weren't ready for. Instead, they do it a bit too early as an adult, and they're not fucking traumatized because they're, well, if it's consensual, they're not fucking traumatized because their brain can handle it. Because they're older. But fucking hell. Anyway. Fuck it. The sex license thing was a mess, and he's stupid for even suggesting it. And if he'd have just said, no, age of consent is fine. just lie. Fuck. A lot of the problems you're having, Alex, are caused by your own stupidity. And listen, if you genuinely apologized and genuinely came out and said, yeah, I was stupid, I shouldn't have said shit like that, no one would harass you. People would just be like, okay, he's apologized, back to work. At least the reasonable people. There are some people who are just trolling you. And fuck it. Ignore the fucks. But when it comes to genuine criticism like myself, like Kappa like FPS Diesel, and whoever else, because I only watch Kappa and FPS Diesel. When it comes to those people, if you just came out, apologized, stuck your nose to the grindstone, and carried on, they'd stop. But you won't do that. You'll keep adding to your debunk novel. You're hopeless if you carry on like that. For fuck's sake, get help, dude. Get help. Anyway, fuck it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. The audio might be a bit weird. I'm using a lapel microphone for the first time. But if you enjoyed this, please do like, comment, and subscribe. Give it a share as well. Hit the little bell. Don't quite know what I think it just forwards my notifications. I think. I don't know. But, you know, hit the little bell, subscribe, share it so more people can see it. Yeah. That's all I really have to say. I'll see you guys next time I record. Bye.